Hello, I'm Kirsty Young, and this is a podcast from the Desert Island Discs archive. For rights reasons, we've had to shorten the music. The programme was originally broadcast in 2004, and the presenter was Sue Lawley.
My castaway this week is an artist. Her work is sensational. Indeed, one of her most famous works, a tent called Everyone I Have Ever Slept With, was a centrepiece of the famous Royal Academy exhibition Sensation in 1997. 2 years later, she was shortlisted for the Turner Prize for work which included My Bed, an evocation of a period of breakdown, including stained knickers and used condoms. She attracts critical approval and vitriol, not always in equal measure, and takes, not unreasonably, some delight in the controversy that her art engenders. Much of it is based on her own complicated life. She was raped as an adolescent, became promiscuous, and has attempted suicide. Like it or loathe it, the impact of her work is impossible to ignore. Cues form wherever it's shown around the world, and she has a room dedicated to it in Tate Britain. My struggle, she says, has been with my art and my own personal survival, and it's all linked. She is Tracey Emin. So, how much has your art, Tracey, which is so autobiographical, so confessional, saved you from yourself, if you like? It's been a kind of therapy for you, huh?
I think it started off like that. I always say I'm not the best visual artist in the world, and I really mean that. What I like about my art and what's kept me going is the fact that it's about communication, and that's where the survival is. While I'm making my art and I'm communicating, then I'm obviously not alone, and that's what's important to me.
But would it have worked for you if it hadn't made such an impact, if you hadn't achieved such fame and indeed such fortune?
No, I don't think I'd have carried on. Part of it is my ambition as well and my drive, that kind of thing. They go hand in hand. I think most of my life people have said to me, oh, you can't do this or you can't do that or you won't be able to do this. And I've said, yeah, I can do what I want to do. But it takes a lot of hard work and perseverance and a lot of faith. If you haven't got faith, it's not going to work.
You keep mentioning hard work. I mean, I think that's very much part of you, isn't it? People inevitably looking at your work think there's a kind of, I don't know, a kind of lazy person there who's going to tell everybody who she's been to bed with and this and the other. But there's a kind of professionalism at work in you at the same time, isn't there?
Yeah, it's really amazing when I work with people like curators abroad in museums or whatever, and they say, you're incredibly professional, like someone in German accent, you're incredibly professional. And I say, yeah, but my name's Tracey Emin. You don't get here by just being lazy and slack. You have to be professional. It's like everybody in their profession or at the top of it. They didn't get there by being slack.
But as you know, people would be surprised to hear that. They'll also be surprised, because it's not the sort of stuff that gets such recognition, to recall that across the kind of set from where your bed was in your work for the Turner exhibition, there were some beautiful watercolours on the wall, weren't there?
Yeah, there was, and the watercolours, I didn't see them get mentioned anywhere in the press, actually.
But describe them to me, because they were very beautiful, weren't they?
They were very tiny watercolours, about 4 inches by 4 inches, and they were scenes of myself sitting in a bath, and they were very traditional, very, very dainty, beautiful little watercolours.
And did they give you the same pleasure to do as creating a kind of mussed-up bed and the detritus of sexual activity?
When I was making those watercolours, I was actually crying at the time. So, yeah, it comes from the same place. It's an emotional thing.
But you wouldn't have achieved what you've achieved and the fame and the recognition if you'd just done watercolours. Is that the point?
We don't know, do we?
We don't know.
No. It's the right answer to that. I'll explain it. As an artist, to get some kind of notoriety or some kind of credit or fame, then you have to make a seminal piece of work, or you have to change the face of what people understand as art or as contemporary art. I've done that with 2 pieces of work. I've done it with my tent and I've done it with my bed. Most artists, no matter how successful they are, and even if they earn a really good living, majority of them don't make anything seminal in their life. I've done that with 2 things. Whether people think it's good or bad or rubbish, I have done it. That's what the difference is. Picasso did it with Cubism. That's what the difference is.
Tell me about your first record.
So, as we're talking about art, my first record's John Holt, and it's Riding for a Fall. This one in particular, I have it because it's the soundtrack from one of my films, and the film is actually me riding across Margate Beach on a horse. It was like Lady Godiva Goes Home.
You weren't naked at the time?
No, I wasn't actually, but I did have my shirt undone. I had a cowgirl, a Stetson hat on, and I showed it at the Turner Prize with the Riding for a Fool soundtrack, because even in my heart of heart, I knew, no matter if I was nominated, I knew no way was I ever going to win that prize. So I'd set myself up for this big thing, and I knew I was going to be let down. But life's like that, isn't it?
Go ahead and have your fun, girl, 'cause you know I'm still in love with you, girl. Go ahead and have yourself a ball. You're riding for a fall.
John Holt and Riding for a Fall, which Tracey Emin used on a film of herself riding across Margate Beach, Margate, her hometown. Short videos have been part of your artwork. You made another one about called Why I Never Became a Dancer, which is presumably what you originally wanted to be, is it? A dancer?
I think, yeah, when I was about 14, I would have liked to have been a dancer, definitely.
And why did you never become a dancer?
In Margate, the best dancers were men, and there was a lot of pressure from them, older men. In fact, I'd slept with most of them. It just wasn't conducive to the whole idea of being a dancer. This is speaking in metaphors. I was pushed off the dance floor, that's for sure. And in a way, there was a lot of unhealthiness about the sex thing and all that kind of stuff. But actually, the dancing was pretty good, you know. We weren't going around smashing things up or breaking into houses. We were dancing and having sex. It wasn't the most unhealthy thing in the whole world, really, when I look back on it.
And now you've made a feature film, a full-length film called Top Spot, which is named after the nightclub, I think, that you all went to in Margate.
No, the thing about Top Spot is Top Spot was actually teenage disco. This is when I was even younger. This is what the disco that 12, 13-year-olds would go to.
So the girls in the film that you've made are round about your kinds of age then, like 14, 15, 16?
Yeah, the girls in the film are supposed to be about 14, 15.
And
definitely.
it's autobiographical?
It's kind of autobiographical. The fact is I've got 6 girls playing out 6 different facets of a personality.
Give me the
It's a
setting,
story.
first of all. This is
Margate.
Margate, looking, feeling bleak.
No, Margate looking absolutely beautiful, funnily enough. I tried to make Margate look like a superstar.
But an underage girl gets raped, which is what happened to you, yeah?
Yeah. There must be loads of people out there that know this expression. I was raped. I had sex against my will, but it was called being broken into. You were broken into. You went to school the next day and you said, I was broken into last night. You didn't complain. You didn't go to the police. It just carried on and on and on.
So you
That's what
sort of
happened.
expected it to happen at some point?
Yeah, you kind of think you know that it could happen. You kind of expect it to happen because that's what happens.
It's just par for the course. Happened to all
It
young
happens
girls.
to a lot of girls, yeah.
But it's somebody they know.
Yeah, I think there's quite a few no-no-nos involved, and please don't do that, and a bit of pushing. But what it is that the girls don't necessarily, like me, I didn't go to the police, didn't complain. And
Why
again,
didn't you?
Because you didn't in those days. This is like in the 70s, mid-70s.
Did you tell your mother?
Yeah, I told my mum.
And?
Well, she had the same attitude. That's what happened.
And there's attempted suicide as well in this film, isn't there?
Yeah.
This one's a wrist slashing. What did you do? You jumped off a harbour wall, huh?
Yeah, but it's easy to jump off harbour wall. I'm a really good swimmer.
So you knew you weren't really attempting suicide?
No, I could have drowned quite easily. Don't get me wrong. If you're really drunk and it's like 12 o'clock at night and you've got all your clothes on. But I've been jumping in this harbour wall since I was 9. My feet went into the sand like, and then I came back up like a cork. And I remember looking up and feeling stupid and really insignificant and really tiny, and there's all the stars. So what could have been a tragedy actually ended up being something beautiful. And I think it's one of the first true times in my life that I understood about nature completely.
Record number 2.
It's the Beach Boys and it's Good Vibrations, and it goes really good with what we're just talking about, because this song reminds me of one of the happier times in my life when I, as a kid, with me and my brother and a whole load of us friends listening to the Beach Boys and actually jumping in the harbour wall, and Tubby, the fat harbour master, running around trying to catch us kids jumping in, and then we'd swim across the harbour and then he'd run round the other side of the harbour, then we'd swim back again. And we used to listen to the Beach Boys and pretend that Margate was California.
I'm picking up good vibrations. She's giving me the excitations. I'm picking up good vibrations. She's giving me the excitations.
The Beach Boys and Good Vibrations. I gather that at the end of the film, top spot, Margate gets bombed. Is that how you feel about it still, Tracey?
No, it's not. I mean, I said I would have had a tidal wave if I could have had one, but that wasn't in the budget.
Oh, I see.
And the bombing of Margate, it isn't me bombing Margate, it's me eradicating the past and saying, it's gone now.
So
and
tell
actually
me,
taking control of it.
Tell me about that early past, because in the very beginning when you lived there as a very little girl, you were quite happy, weren't you?
No, I don't think I've ever been happy.
I thought you were happy. You lived in a big hotel, your family.
No, we had a strange upbringing because my dad and mum and dad weren't married. And my dad lived with his wife 3 days a week. My mum 3 days a week, and we would say one day somewhere else. So even as a tiny child, I was aware that something wasn't quite how it should be. And my mum was very sad a lot of the time as well.
So he had another family somewhere else. But they
And
knew
probably
about each other, didn't they?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
and probably another family somewhere else.
Probably another family somewhere else, another family somewhere else. Yeah, my dad was a bit of a... What's the word for it?
Philanderer.
Philanderer is the correct word, absolutely, yeah. It begins with F.
But eventually the bottom fell out of this world, precarious as it was, because he went... But he owned the hotel, didn't he?
No, my dad went bankrupt in I think it was 72. You know, he lost absolutely everything. And with it, everything that my mum owned as well. So from 1 minute having this 100-bedroom hotel and all this staff and all this kind of thing, my friend said this explains the Princess and the Pea factor with Tracey. The next minute we were squatting in a cottage where the staff used to live, with absolutely nothing, and with no dad around either. Not at all. And a very, very upset, angry, frustrated mum who then had to go out to work every hour God sent so she could provide stuff for us.
But you ran wild, therefore, because you had no discipline.
Yeah, we didn't have much discipline at all. I mean, we didn't have much discipline because my dad wasn't there. And my mum, you know, it was difficult for her to cope with everything.
But you played truant from school. I mean, you just...
Never played truant. I just didn't go to school. It's very different. Playing truant is like someone who pretends they're going... This is how I see it anyway. Pretends they're going to school in the daytime and then comes back. I just said, I'm not going.
But this is when it all began, really, isn't it? Tracey Emin flouting the rules of convention, really. Just doing what she felt like when she woke up that morning.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe I have a problem with authority or something. You know? But also, in some ways, I was quite mature, and I think that's why I started having sex when I was quite young. I felt every time that I slept with someone, I used to call it the springboard effect. I used to think if by sleeping with someone, it was like travelling to a new country or to a new world.
Is that how it felt?
It was good. It was free, you know. It wasn't hurting anyone. It was great. What was the problem with it?
I suppose one should say there, wasn't it hurting you?
I think when I look back on it now, 25-year-old men sleeping with a 14-year-old girl, I think it was pretty painful. Yeah, I have to question what their motives were. But then again, I wanted to do it, or I thought I wanted to do it. I'm just not the kind of woman that was going to be a virgin and get married. That just was never going to happen to me. It just never was. So it's quite good in the next song, though, talking about this. Donna Summer, I Feel Love. Because this really reminds me of Margate in 1977 at a place called the Ballet High Disco. All the trendy soul people, all the punks, everyone used to come down to Margate. And I was 14, and I remember wearing drainpipe jeans, silver dance shoes, and a mohair jumper. And I was 14 and I was dancing.
You were feeling good?
And I was feeling good, yeah.
Donna Summer and I Feel Love. Art was going to be your eventual salvation, Tracey, but difficult to get into it without any qualifications. It was a kind of tortuous route you trod, but eventually you got an interview at Maidstone College of Art, which you ultimately recognised was where you wanted to be. Why did you find it so attractive? What was it?
I got to Maidstone at 8 o'clock in the morning because I had no money and someone had given me a lift. And I sat outside and the dinner ladies from the canteen were coming in. They took me in and they made me a cup of tea. And also Maidstone was beautiful because it was in Oakwood Park. So there's great big oak trees and squirrels everywhere. And it was 3 years that I my personal life was an absolute mess, of course, but I just loved every single day at college. I loved it. I couldn't believe, every day, I couldn't believe how lucky I was to get in and get a place there.
There's a lecturer who was there then said since that you were the most remarkable student he'd ever taught. He said you were an energetic, enthusiastic, prolific, interesting words.
But every day I was happy to be there. And I got a first-class honours with a distinction thing, I loved it. I loved every single moment of it.
And you were prolific. What kinds of things were you producing? What kind of works of art?
A few Edvard Munchs, a few Egon Schiller's, a bit of German expressionism.
Pretty bleak stuff you were producing.
Yeah, it was really bleak. But lots of self-portraits as well.
And signing them Miss T.K. Emin, which is a bit prim.
Yeah, but it was also kind of quite un-German. Very English in a way.
But then it all went downhill again after that, didn't it? Because you went to the Royal College of Art to study for an MA, you weren't very happy, and then you had an abortion. And
yeah, the Royal College of Art, as I always say, the best thing about the Royal College of Art is that letter saying that you got in. After that, it goes downhill. And also, I was an appallingly bad painter, and I got in to do painting. So it was all very difficult.
You're a good drawer, though, weren't you?
Yeah, I'm a really good drawer. I'm actually quite a good painter now, after as well, 18 years later, slogging away at it.
But it wasn't just that you weren't getting on at the RCA. I mean, also your personal life was going wrong. Everything went downhill. You had a couple of abortions.
Yeah, one after the other, yeah.
Yeah. Pretty nasty experience. I mean, one was really bad, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it didn't work. That's why it was bad. Because I'm pregnant with twins. One of the fetuses had come, but the other one hadn't, so it was inside me.
You didn't know?
And I didn't know. 5 days later, I was delirious, going yellow. A friend come round to see me, and then just rushed me to hospital. And then I had to have what's it done?
D&C?
Yeah. And also the person who I was with at the time, the reason why I had the abortion was because they didn't want to be with me.
And all this resulted in you just kind of giving up. You destroyed every bit of art.
Destroyed.
Well, you did, didn't you? I thought you destroyed all the art you'd ever done.
Yeah, but giving up sounds really passive. Oh, I don't think I'll do it anymore. I smashed it all up and I threw it in rubbish bins and I got rid of it all and said, right,
Why?
That's it, art's over. Because after being pregnant, I understood the true essence of creativity for myself. So then I couldn't justify the art that I was making. It was just more objects filling up the world, more rubbish, more stuff, and I couldn't justify it. So I decided to get rid of it all.
Next piece of music, what is it?
Okay, it's The Clash, and it's Should I Stay or Should I Go? I'm godmother to Mick Jones's daughter, Stella. So I'd like to say, hello, Stell.
You're name dropping again.
Yes, I am.
Decisions bugging me. If you don't want me, set me free. Exactly whom I'm supposed to be. Don't you know which clothes even fit me? Come on and let me know. Should I cool it or should I blow?
Clash and Should I Stay or Should I Go? All of that happened at the turn of the decade, Tracey, into the 90s. By 1993, you had a solo exhibition at the fashionable White Cube Gallery, which you called My Major Retrospective. It's not a lot to be retrospective without having destroyed it all. But anyway, it was a solo exhibition. It was a big turning point, wasn't it? In a nutshell, what made the difference? How come suddenly, you could be back on track after all of that?
Because I've become friends with Sarah Lucas, and Sarah and I opened up a shop together. And Sarah financed it all, put all the money behind it, on the condition that I would be there. And because of this for 6 months, kind of installed something in me, which was very positive. And then I met Jay Joplin and become friends with him.
Who owned and ran the White Cube?
Yeah. Jay had heard that I'd done this thing, which was people could pay £10 to invest in my creative potential. And for that, they'd get 3 letters. So Jay one night just gave me 10 quid. And so I started writing to him.
So that was you driving it forward? I mean, you being entrepreneurial,
it was,
as it were.
Yeah, I'm always entrepreneurial. I had no money. I lived on £12 a week at the time. And so by doing this, dole office coming to get me, doing this letter thing for £10, I sent out about 80 letters.
So you're kind of selling shares in yourself, really?
I was, yeah. And also, at the same time, I did a part-time philosophy course at Birkbeck.
Philosophy.
Yes, it's like mental gymnastics. My brain, my mind, everything. I was woken up completely. It was amazing.
But it's also, I mean, what you're describing is about becoming professional, isn't it? About having disciplines imposed upon you by your friend Sarah Lucas or by yourself, as it were, suddenly having to conform in the best kind of way to drive yourself forward.
Yeah, I had to conform in some ways, even for respect, for friendship. I had to do that,
And it worked.
and it worked. Yeah, it was good.
Record number 5.
Okay, record number 5, Middle of the Road, and it's Chirpy Chirpy Cheep Cheep, and this reminds me of my mum, and this is the kind of song which I think will haunt me forever.
Go on.
It sounds silly, but no, I think if I don't ever become a mother, I think I'll be very upset and sad about that, especially when I'm old, but it's looking that way anyway. This reminds me of my mum, and my mum really, 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 really loves us and really cares about us. I know that she does. So, and this just reminds me of when I was little.
The Middle of the Road and Chirpy Chirpy Cheep Cheep. All of your work, as we've said, was autobiographical, and that certainly that first stuff for the White Cube exhibition was, even to the point of featuring a crumpled cigarette packet which belonged to your Uncle Colin. Explain that to me.
Yeah, my Uncle Colin got killed in a car crash in 1982. He was at traffic lights and a lorry came down and pushed his car underneath a bus, and he was about to light a cigarette at the time. So the cigarette packet that he was holding was a Benson Hedges packet, which is gold, and you can see where his imprint of his hand was at the time when he was killed.
And have you always kept all of these bits and pieces? I mean, there are other things you use, I don't know, baby's shoes and, I don't know, old letters. And
Yeah, but everything I keep means something to me. It isn't just for how it looks. I can't just use things that look good or look like they would work. The things have to mean something to me.
So it's all genuine, is it? It's all real, and it matters that you couldn't, you know, sometimes it's said, you know, other people sew for you.
Of course other people have to sew for me, but I do the cutting, I do the placing, I do the laying. No one does anything without my say-so. And also I believe in the distribution of wealth really strongly, and I think if I'm in a point where I can employ 6 people, that is really brilliant. I don't see what's wrong with it.
I understand that, no, but I'm really talking about the art itself, as to whether it matters, whether it really was a bit of the blanket that you slept with when you were 9.
I don't know if it matters so much to other people, but it really matters to me, those kind of things.
But lots of the things that you produce, therefore, are to do with things that happened in your life. It means that you still feel as strongly about them as ever.
Sometimes they rear their ugly head trying to come and get me. So I make something out of it and put it to rest again.
So it is art as therapy, which is where we began.
Yeah, but also, as I get older, I'm not wound up about my tiny little existence. I get wound up about some really big things, you know, and I make work about that now. I put the news on in the morning, you know, and I can make work about that.
You've made a lot of money out of your tiny little existence.
Yeah, I haven't stopped yet, have I?
No.
It's just the beginning. I'm not a trust fund girl. Everything I had, I worked for myself. I worked for this. I made this happen. And I want to show other people that they can do that.
Next piece of music, what is it?
Oh, this is a good one. This is Elvis Presley and it's Burning Up. And the reason why I got this is I was in Istanbul a few years ago and I hadn't had sex for a year. And I had a Walkman on and I was listening to Elvis Presley burning up again and again and again and again and again because I was burning up. And I made a film with a taxi driver of me looking for a man, any man in Istanbul. And now...
What would the taxi driver have done?
The taxi driver actually is incredibly good looking and he has a very, very big mirror. I only realised after I looked at the film, I thought, wow, he was the one.
You missed him, and there he was in front of you.
He was right in front of my lens. You're busy looking through the lens and not looking at the man, yeah.
Lord have mercy, I'm burning the whole world away. And your kisses live behind like a sweet song on the choir. Light my morning sky with burning
Elvis Presley and Burning Love, or Burning Up, as Tracey calls it.
Could you imagine having that played really loud on a desert island, booming all across the place?
Turn you on. You're 41 years old, are you now? Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, from everything you've said, you sound as if you're sort of getting happier as you go.
I think I'm getting happier, and I am getting happier, and then something else happens, and I realise that it's still really difficult. We'll have our crosses to bear. But money can't buy you love and it can't buy you health, but it can get you really, really good health insurance, and it can buy you a round-the-world air ticket at any given moment that you need it. And
it can buy you a beautiful house, which you have, don't you? Tell me quickly about that.
I live in a really beautiful Huguenot house in Spitalfields. There's not one straight floor, one straight door, one straight window in my house. It's like living on a drunken ship.
But other than that, I'm told it's immaculate.
Yeah. I like everything in its place.
Do you?
Yeah. I got stopped at customs the other day and they wanted to open my case, and I said, please don't. People know who I am. It's going to be really embarrassing. They went, is it a mess? I said, no, that's just it. It isn't. It was like so tidy. They said, we won't tell anyone, we promise.
And you go to the gym and you eat the right food.
I'll swim every day and I'll never eat bad food. The only thing I do, which is really, really, really negative and bad, is I drink too much. And I'm going to have to do something seriously about this.
Is it a real problem? I mean,
I think
do you need to go to AA? Is that what you're saying?
I stopped smoking on my own after smoking for 27 years, last Christmas Day, and I want to give myself another gift. I want to be free. I want to break away from the alcohol. I can't stand it.
So, I mean, what all that says is you're conforming, in your middle age. Well, 41 is sort of just about middle-aged,
It is middle-aged.
It is, all right.
Yeah.
Well, I was being nice, really. I mean, is there a danger of your turning into a kind of discreet watercolourist? Is that what we're saying here? Is that where you're heading?
I hope so, because I want to go to Rome and make oil paintings. I hope that's exactly where I'm heading.
And what about love? You looking for love?
We're always all looking for love, aren't we?
You'd like it?
Yeah, I'd like it.
And you'd like children?
I'd love to have children, yeah. But, hey men out there, it's not. I'm not sending out the right signals, am I? Really, for most men, I'm passionately independent. Men don't really like that. I haven't had sex for like 17 months. It's scary, There's all these things which is a complete no-no for most men. It has to be a very big, strong man to be able to take all that on. And
somebody in mind?
A few, yeah.
You lucky thing.
No,
Record number 7, come on.
Right, this is quite good, actually, what we're talking about. This is now that we've found love. When I was about 14, I started coming nightclubbing in London, and dancing was my life then. And this song, every time I hear it, it makes me happy. And the lyrics are really good because they're kind of half really sexist and kind of vile, but also half quite amazing. I think it kind of matches a lot of how my life has been, or how I've been treated.
Now that we found love, what are we gonna do with it? Now that we found love, what are we gonna do with it? Make that the shake, 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 shake, all over the place. I say, come on, baby, where the music's playing. Wanna see you dance.
Third World, and Now That We Found Love. If we're talking Castaway here, Tracey, there is no doubt you are a survivor, aren't you?
Yeah, it's brilliant. My mum said that if she knew that I was on a flight and she'd heard the plane had crashed and they said there was one person had survived, she said she wouldn't have to look to see who it was. She knows it would be me.
How would you like to think that art historians might place you, let's say they're writing about you 50 years on. What would you like to feel that they would say about your contribution and you?
If I was consistent, that would be a good thing. So when I'm 80 or 90 and I'm still making art, they're going to have to rethink the things that they've said about me. And a few of them are starting to rethink it, and they are starting to use words like, whether you like it or not, she's still here, she's still around. And I will be for a really long time.
Last record.
Young Americans, David Bowie. For me, Young Americans is about what can happen to us all, just in a second, just in a moment. And can I name drop? I'm friends with David anyway, so it's really good to have one of his songs in the list.
They pulled in just behind the bridge. He lays her down. He frowns. Gee, my life's a funny thing. Am I still too young? He kissed her then and there. She took his ring, took his babies. It took him minutes, took her nowhere. Heaven knows he'd have taken anything. All night. She was a young American.
David Bowie and Young Americans. Now, Tracey, if you could only take one of those 8 records, which one would you take?
I think I'd take the David Bowie, Young Americans, because I can dance to it, I can sing along to it, I could try and remember all the lyrics to it, I could write all the lyrics down and then cut them up and do what David Bowie does, make some other kind of collages and poems out of them. Yeah.
Okay. What about your book, as well as the Bible and Shakespeare?
You're going to really love this. I don't think I've been pretentious in my choice of music whatsoever, but I might be in my book. I think I'll take Spinoza's Ethics.
Why?
Why? Because it reads like poetry. Yeah, it's philosophy. It also reads like a kind of guideline for some kind of spiritual enlightenment. So if you're trapped on a desert island on your own, it could be quite lonely. So you'd have to connect with nature in a good way. And Spinoza's Ethics would be really good to help you do that without feeling alone. You'd actually start to understand and feel one with everything.
And your luxury?
Can I have 2?
No.
I only have 1?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I know what I could do. I want a pen that never runs out.
To draw with, to write with?
To write and to draw with, definitely. So I wanted a notebook that never runs out as well, but I could always use the pages from the Shakespeare or whatever.
Tracey Emin, thank you very much indeed for letting us hear your Desert Island Discs.
Thanks.
You've been listening to a podcast from the Desert Island Discs archive. For more podcasts, please visit bbc.co.uk/Radio 4.